My mother-in-law, who loves expensive and fancy things, often makes rude comments whenever she sees me. She always tells me I'm plain and not fit to be her son's wife. One day, she even spilled wine on my dress, calling me cheap, but she changed her tone once she found out the truth. My name is Isabel. I'm a 28-year-old housewife. I married my husband, James, 2 years ago. We don't have kids yet, so we're enjoying our time together and are thinking about starting a family soon. My married life with James is great, kind and caring. However, my relationship with my mother-in-law, Kate, isn't good. She's been critical of me since we got married, and even after 2 years, we haven't managed to get along. I try to be friendly, but it seems she has no interest in building a good relationship. The first time I met her, she said things like, "She's so plain and simple. Is she really good enough for my son?" Maybe I made a bad first impression, but it felt like she was telling me I didn't deserve to be in her family. My parents are just regular working people. My dad's an office worker, and my mom's a nurse. When my mother-in-law heard about them, she looked at me with pity and said, "I can't believe your mother has to work too. Were you that poor?" My mother-in-law has never worked a day in her life and thinks I'm beneath her. She always tells me how she grew up in a rich family and was used to having the best of everything. She proudly says, "I raised my son to know what's good and what's not." I usually just smile and try to be polite, but it's truly like simple clothes and makeup, which she thinks are boring. In contrast, she's always dressed in flashy, branded outfits and heavy makeup. "You don't know what quality is," she say. "You only know cheap stuff. Why did my son choose someone like you?" After bragging about herself, she would always end up insulting me. This has been the pattern ever since I married James. Despite my efforts, my mother-in-law and I are always at odds. My mother-in-law can be sarcastic to me whenever we meet, but I usually just ignore it. It's not something that really bothers me because my father-in-law and husband are always kind to me. Besides, there's one person in the family who has always been welcoming me, grandmother-in-law, who is my husband's grandmother. She's over 80 years old but still very healthy. My husband's parents have 2 big houses on a large piece of land, and the grandparents live in one, while his parents live in the other. When I first saw the houses, I was surprised by how grand they were, but my grandmother-in-law just laughed and said, "The land was cheap, and we had a good carpenter, so it's not that special." Although my mother-in-law always boasts about her house and lifestyle, most of it is actually thanks to my grandmother-in-law's efforts. Unlike my grandmother-in-law is not snobbish at all and treats me with kindness. She often tells me, "It feels like I have another granddaughter." We don't have many girls in the family. She's always been warm and affectionate toward me, which makes it easier to handle my mother-in-law's attitude. Because of her support, I feel more comfortable being in this family. I often go out for lunch or tea with my grandmother-in-law, which has helped us build a strong bond. One day, my mother-in-law called me. "It's my birthday next month. We're having it at our house this year. Make sure to come and celebrate with my son," she said. I agreed. Of course. Then she added, "We're throwing a big party this year for my 60th birthday. All our relatives and friends will be there. So I'd appreciate it if you dress appropriately. I don't want you showing up looking like you usually do. It would embarrass me." What she meant by appropriate was probably something from an expensive brand, which I didn't have. I felt a bit stuck, but when I told my husband, he reassured me and said we'd just dress a bit more formally. On the day of the party, we went to a department store in the morning to pick up a birthday gift for my mother-in-law. Knowing her taste, we chose something luxurious. I figured she wouldn't complain if I said my husband paid it out, so it made things easier. After getting the gift, we had lunch and went home to change for the party. But just then, I got a call from my grandmother-in-law. "Come to my house right now," she said. I explained that I was about to go home and change, and then I head to the party, but she insisted, "No need to change, just come as you are." I thought my grandmother-in-law must have called me for something urgent, so I decided to go and see her. I asked my husband to go home, change, and then meet me at the party later. When I arrived at her house, She welcomed me in with a big smile and started talking about my mother-in-law's birthday party. It seems like it's going to be a really big event. All kinds of things have been delivered since this morning, she said. From her house, I could see the entrance of my in-laws' home. There were many delivery trucks coming and going, bringing various decorations and items for the party. I even heard a large flower arrangement had just been delivered. My mother-in-law seemed very excited about it. After chatting a bit, my grandmother-in-law took me to a sitting room in the back of the house. There, she opened a large wooden chest and pulled out a beautiful dress. "Isabel, didn't your mother-in-law tell you to dress properly today?" she asked gently. "Here, I want you to wear this dress." The dress was gorgeous, well-preserved, and clearly one of her prized possessions. It's a high-quality dress. I don't wear it much anymore, so it would be a shame to keep it hidden away. I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to pass it on to you, she said, smiling. She also took out matching accessories and handed them to me. I was surprised and hesitated. "I can't accept something so precious," I told her. But my grandmother-in-law insisted, smiling kindly. "It's fine, Isabel. I know you'll take good care of it. That's why I want you to have it," she said and started helping me put it on. Before I knew it, she had dressed me in the beautiful gown. I hadn't worn a dress like this since I was 21. "It's been a long time since I've worn a dress too," she laughed. "But it's a fancy party, so this is a good chance, right?" While we chatted about the party, I didn't even realize I was fully dressed. Just then, someone arrived at her house. My grandmother-in-law turned to me and said, "This person would do your hair and makeup. Let's get you all ready for the party." My grandmother-in-law even called a hairdresser to help me get ready for the party. She had been taking care of me for a long time and wanted me to look beautiful. Thanks to her, I was dressed up nicely, and she assured me that my mother-in-law wouldn't complain. Just as I finished getting ready, my husband called to say he had arrived at my parents' house. I thanked my grandmother-in-law and got ready to leave. "I'll be there soon after I change," I told her, and she wished me well. When I arrived at my parents-in-law's house with my husband, he was surprised to see me in my fancy outfit. The hall was already crowded with relatives, and the party was in full swing. My mother-in-law, wearing a bright red dress, was sitting at the head of the table and looked very happy. "Happy birthday, mother-in-law," I said as I walked over to greet her. I handed her the gift I had brought, but my mother-in-law looked at me as if she were judging me, then pulled me aside into the kitchen. "What a cheap dress. I told you to come dressed properly," she complained, sounding ruder than usual, probably because she had been drinking. Suddenly, she splashed her wine on my dress, staining it. "You know you only wore a dress because you forced yourself. Why didn't you pick something with a pattern instead of such a plain one? You really have no taste. This is why I dislike people from poor families," she continued, ignoring my distress and ruining my dress completely. She told me to go home, since I wouldn't be allowed to stay at the party in that cheap dress. I was shocked and could only mutter, "This is your mother's," feeling sad because my grandmother-in-law had put so much effort into preparing me for this occasion. My mother-in-law didn't understand what I meant and tried to kick me out. Just then, I heard my grandmother-in-law's voice behind me. "What do you mean cheap? Is that my dress?" she asked as she approached me. Seeing the stain on my dress made me tear up. "Oh my God, this is terrible," she said. I felt so sorry that all I could do was apologize to her, looking down in shame. "It's okay," my grandmother-in-law said, pulling out a handkerchief to clean the stain. My mother-in-law watched the scene, looking pale and realizing what she had done. "If you do it this way, the stain won't spread. I have a stain remover that can help with it," my grandmother-in-law reassured me. My grandmother-in-law looked at me kindly and then turned to my mother-in-law. "Which dress do you think is cheap?" she asked. "This is one I had made a long time ago, and it must have cost several $1,000,000. The fabric and the tailoring are top-notch, just like you love." When my grandmother-in-law mentioned the price, my mother-in-law rolled her eyes. I was also surprised to hear that the dress was so expensive, even though I knew it was nice. My grandmother-in-law sarcastically explained how valuable the dress was to my mother-in-law, pointing out that she had ruined an expensive item. "I'm sorry, I didn't think it was that expensive," my mother-in-law replied, looking even more upset than I was, as if she was trying to defend herself. My grandmother-in-law continued to blame her, saying, "How can someone who doesn't know the value of things make fun of others? You only care about fancy things and names, but you don't know what's really good. You're disgusting. You embarrass me." My mother-in-law, who seemed to have sobered up, couldn't argue back and just looked down. People who know what they're talking about understand. You, who only have cheap dresses, don't get it. You're just someone with new money and no taste, my grandmother-in-law said, being very sarcastic. It was like she was saying the same things my mother-in-law used to say to me. My mother-in-law's face turned bright red, and she just bit her lip in silence. Then, my grandmother-in-law started lecturing her about how to treat me better. "What kind of behavior is it to disrespect a daughter-in-law from another family?" she asked. I felt sorry for my mother-in-law, who looked like she might cry, so I listened quietly. After a while, my grandmother-in-law said, "I'm done here. Isabel and I won't be attending anymore. Have a good time." With that, she finished her lecture and let my mother-in-law go. My mother-in-law's bright red dress, which she had worn so proudly, looked silly in this situation. "Wait here, I have a change of clothes for you at home," my grandmother-in-law said. She went to get my clothes, and I changed into them before heading back to her house. My husband came with me, and he seemed very angry after hearing what had happened from my grandmother-in-law. We left my parents-in-law's house together and went out for dinner, just the four of us. It felt good to enjoy ourselves without worrying about my mother-in-law. Later, my husband and grandmother-in-law lectured my mother-in-law again, telling her not to approach me. They also restricted her from spending money freely. This all happened because my grandmother-in-law told my mother-in-law to learn modesty. At that moment, my mother-in-law looked so pale that I couldn't bear to look at her. My grandmother-in-law declared that she would give me all her dresses, jewelry, and other valuable things. "It doesn't make sense to let someone who doesn't appreciate their value have them," she said, continuing to be sarcastic toward my mother-in-law. I had tried not to say much about it before, but it was clear my grandmother-in-law didn't like my mother-in-law's love for luxury. Later, with a mischievous smile, my grandmother-in-law told me that a wine stain on the dress had come out. I was really happy and relieved. I still don't fully understand the value of things, but I've learned it a lot from my grandmother-in-law, who accepted me wholeheartedly.